Hey, welcome back to the Smart Money Bootcamp. My name is Oz from OzFx, and let's dive right into this one. If you have heard about smart money concepts, then the chances are you have at least heard about order blocks, or maybe you call them institutional candles, or maybe even banker candles, because when I was first learning smart money, I was taught to look for what we called banker candles, which is considered to be the last down candle before the up move, or vice versa, which is just an institutional candle. It's the same thing. But I quickly found out that by only looking at the last candle before the next move, I was leaving room for a lot of mistakes. Why is that? Well, there are different time frames, and that means that the candles are going to be different based on what time frame you're on. So which candle do we use? That's a great question, right? This is what led me to start looking at order blocks the way that I do now. I look at order blocks as the entire area that sponsored the institutional movement that takes place following that. Take notice to the candles that I've drawn over here, and you can see that I labeled both the order block, which is right here, and the institutional candle, which is right here, with the order block beginning at the top of the big move down, this whole entire move down, with the institutional candle at the last candle at the bottom of that, before sponsoring the break of structure that takes place right here. I almost always start by finding the order block and then refining down to the institutional candle inside of that. In most cases, I try to keep in mind the possibility of price only coming to the top of the order block and reacting, and leaving this institutional candle left alone. So if you want the actual definition, for me, an order block is the last up move before a big down move, or reversed, and it can be multiple candles. It's always going to be the entire move up or down before the subsequent move. And an institutional candle, like I've already said, is the last down candle before a big up move. Use specific candles for better refinement of your order block / area. Many people have different views on order blocks, but this is my view. It should be the entire move up or down before the next subsequent big move. I'm going to say that a lot. A lot of times the order block will be too big of an area to consider actually placing a trade, and this is when we refine to a smaller candle inside of the order block. There's also room for more refinement. Let's take a look at some of the qualities of a valid order block. An order block doesn't need all of the elements I'm going to list, but the more the better. So, qualities of a valid order block: large bodies, small wicks, engulfing candle to the right, taking liquidity. That one is key. At the end of a consolidation, it doesn't have to be at the end of a consolidation, but that can be a better clue to the banks being there. Imbalance right above or below, and sponsors break of structure. The only thing that I absolutely need on this list to qualify a institutional candle for me is the sponsors break of structure. Some people look at order blocks and institutional candles that as soon as it clears that candle alone, then that makes it an order block. That's not the way I view it. I'm not saying that you're wrong, or anybody that views it that way is wrong. I'm just saying that I like to make sure that there's a break of structure sponsored by the institutional candle or order block. So why do we trade order blocks? The banks must sell to buy and buy to sell in order to make their intended profit. That's when the banks drive price down before a big up move, or when they drive price up before a big down move. In a bullish scenario, the order block would be the last down move before the institutional movement to the upside, leaving the institutions in drawdown on their orders where they put the order block into the market. This indicates a need for the banks to come back to that order block to close out those orders and make the real move to the upside. Before I show some examples, I want to point out that when looking at order blocks, oftentimes I will include the wicks depending on the time frame, although I still consider most of the volume in the bodies of the candles. In this first example, I have a gray box drawn around the order block I'm trying to highlight right here. If you're working with me, just know that I always draw my order blocks with a gray box. Why is this an order block? Well, first, it's the entire up move. See, all up candles before a big down move. Where is the break of structure? Right there. The entire order block is engulfed by bearish candles immediately. It's at the end of a consolidation. There isn't really any imbalance here, but the entire group of candles that are all, there isn't really any imbalance here, but all these candles are big bodied candles. And if you take a look even closer, you can see that I did mark the actual institutional candle here, and it never got hit. I really like this example here. This one is more of a sniper entry, if you would have gotten an entry on this. This one really demonstrates the power of order blocks. There's a lot going on here in terms of smart money concepts, but we're going to focus on the OB. It's not only just the entire down move, but the entire down move is also just the institutional candle in this example as well. If you would jump around time frames, that might change, but on this time frame they overlap. There's imbalance right beside it right here. It breaks structure right here, and price returns back into it sharply and takes off. This one may be a little harder to see for someone who is new to smart money concepts, and yes, there may be other order blocks on this chart, but which one is the best one? Obviously the one that I have noted here We always want to pick the best order block with as many confluences as possible. What do we have here with this order block? We got the last up move before an institutional move to the other direction, breaking this structure right here. And there's imbalance in here as well. I know we haven't covered imbalance yet, but we will very shortly. And to be honest, minimally, that's all we really need for an order block. Now, order blocks alone with no other analysis or confirmations are not enough to take trades alone. There are many other elements to consider when taking a trade, which we will cover. Order blocks are just a key element. Let's look at some live examples of what's on the charts right now. All right, so real quick, I have AUD USD pulled up right here, and we're just gonna go through this chart a little bit. I am on the 4 hour, and we're just gonna go through this chart and see what order blocks we can find. And the first one that I can see, and now this is all hindsight, so, but that it is what it is. Right here, order block. Why? Down move before an up move that takes out structure. All right, now next one right here. Now this is how you could start drawing this one, right? Order block, all down move. I'm including that wick because price drove up and then came down and didn't stop going down until the move up, breaking structure. Now, this is when you could go down and refine it because that area is very big, and I would probably move this down to something like either this, or you could even take it all the way down to the institutional candle before it broke structure, and look at that entry. I didn't take this. This all happened during NFP today, so I wasn't trading, but nonetheless, it's a sniper entry. So looking at silver here, you can see I do already have some other things marked out on this chart. If you don't know what they are, don't worry about it, but there's an order block right here, entire down move before an up move that breaks some structure. And then I see some other order blocks inside of this as well. Right here is one. Which technically got ran through. So this is an example of one that didn't actually work out unless you had some padding on it or something, which in most cases, I'm gonna tell you, if you are entering off an order block, try to have at least a 3-pip pad on your order. All right, let's see. So here's a good order block right here. This one has a lot of the qualities that we look for. Gray box, that's the way I draw mine. And then what all do we have going on here? Now remember I said the qualities of a good order block or a valid order block. Taking liquidity. If you don't understand what liquidity is yet, we will be covering that very shortly as well. So this drives up, takes liquidity, drops down, takes out all the structure right here, and there's also imbalance in here as well. Also, engulfing candle to the right. This one example here has almost all the requirements of an order block to make a strong order block. Now, that being said, just because you have all these confluences with your order blocks, that does not mean it's going to work out. This one hasn't even been hit yet, so we would just kind of watch this one for the future. And now here on Bitcoin, this one is a very good example. I did not trade this, but I had this marked. I haven't really been trading Bitcoin lately these days, but as you can see, this is the institutional candle. The actual order block is right here. But like I said, oftentimes order blocks are too big and you want to refine them. Now, just because you refine your order block down to an institutional candle doesn't mean it's going to work out. Sometimes you're going to miss. Lower time frame order block right there, institutional candle right there. Taps in, goes. Let's see, does this one get hit? Because this right here is an area of supply and demand and also an order block as well. Remember how I said supply and demand will oftentimes line up with order blocks? Well, yeah, entire down move, return to that move. Ultimately, you would have wanted to take profits up here somewhere because you would have lost this trade in the end. This one right here was an actual trade that I got in. I did not ride this entire trade all the way up. I actually closed my trade before NFP came out today, so I only got it to like right up here at the breakout. I just wasn't willing to hold it. But if you look here, here's another example of the entire row of candles. These are all down candles before a break to the upside, return to that, boom, to the upside. The best way to practice order blocks is to just go back into your charts like I'm doing right now and draw them out, see what happens. You also really want to draw out ones that haven't been hit yet. You don't just want to go back and look for the ones that worked. You want to just draw out ones that haven't been hit yet. Put alarms on them and see what happens whenever they get there. And that's all for this one, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.